What happens when the man who owns the club can't get past his own front door? Zayden Grant stood across the street, watching the line of people snake around the corner of his 13th nightclub location. From the outside, the place looked alive, pulsing lights, bass thudding through the sidewalk and laughter spilling out with the cold night air. But something had been off lately. A string of online complaints, a sudden dip in weekend revenue, and a one-star review that mentioned a fight breaking out at the door that no staff responded to. His district manager, who oversaw all 13 locations, had brushed them off, said it was just the usual noise from nightlife. Zayden didn't build this company just to watch it rot from the inside. He'd started with one club when he was 25, bouncing between bartending shifts and cleaning bathrooms himself. 13 years later, he'd built a chain, but that growth came with distance. Most of the staff at this new downtown location had never met him, and that was exactly what he needed. Tonight, he wasn't Zayden Grant. He was Jay, a freelance event photographer looking to pick up side work. He'd shaved the beard, dyed his hair darker, and wore thick, square glasses with a camera slung around his neck. The disguise wasn't just for looks. No one here had seen him before in person. And in a place where turnover was high and faces changed fast, his entrance drew zero attention. He stepped into the line like any other guest. The bouncers stood at the entrance, two of them. One tall and distracted, scrolling through his phone, the other shorter, muscular, and loud. "ID's out," the shorter one barked. "Let's move it." When Zayden reached the front, the shorter bouncer gave him a glance, barely looked at the ID, and waved him through. He paused. "You didn't check the date." The bouncer squinted at him. "You look 30, man, go inside." Zayden kept walking, heart racing. That wasn't just a lazy mistake, it was a risk. If underage kids were getting in, the club could lose its liquor license. One fine could cost $10,000. A shutdown, way worse. Inside, the energy hit him like a wall. Lights strobed across the dance floor, the DJ booth pulsed with movement, and the bar was slammed. He moved through the crowd, pretending to snap shots of people laughing and dancing. No one questioned him. He overheard guests complaining about long waits, overheated bathrooms, and watered-down drinks. He slipped behind the bar, pretending to get candids of the bartenders. That's when he noticed a young woman wiping down glasses alone. "Busy night?" he asked. She looked up, startled. "Always is when we're two people short." "Call out," she nodded. "One's been out sick all week, the other just stopped showing up, I guess." "What's your name?" Kendra Ashby." Zayden made a mental note. She looked barely 22 but moved fast behind the bar, multitasking without complaining. She even smiled at rude customers. He kept moving. Over near the VIP area, a guy in a blazer was yelling at a waitress. "I said I wanted bottle service 10 minutes ago." "Are you even listening?" The waitress tried to keep her voice calm. "Sir, we're understaffed tonight, but I'll get it for you now." Zayden stepped in. "Hey man, she's doing her job, chill out." Blazer guy turned. "Who the hell are you?" "Photographer." "Then go take pictures and mind your business." Zayden stared at him, jaw tight, but let it go. He didn't come here for that. Not yet. In the back hallway near the staff room, he heard loud laughter. The two bouncers were back there, one of them vaping. "Yo, did you see that girl with the red dress? No way she was 21. Don't care. She looked old enough. Not gonna start carding everyone like a cop." Zayden's stomach turned. He backed away before they noticed him and headed outside again. He stood near the front, watching as another group came in. One guy didn't even pull out an ID, just nodded at the tall bouncer, who let him through without a word. Zayden stepped forward. "Excuse me," he said to the tall one. "Do you always let people in without checking?" The bouncer raised an eyebrow. "Who are you, man? The ID police?" "I'm just saying, it's not safe." "You a cop?" "No." "Then mind your business." Zayden clenched his jaw. This wasn't just carelessness, it was a pattern. And it wasn't just the bouncers. Staff were overworked, rules were being broken, and no one seemed to care. He walked down the block, pulled off his glasses, and exhaled. They had no idea who he was. and that was about to change tomorrow night. He'd come back, not as a guest. Not as a photographer, as a new hire. A trainee. And this time, he'd stay until they knew exactly who they were working for. Zayden arrived the next evening 30 minutes before opening, dressed in black jeans, an oversized hoodie, and worn-out sneakers. He carried a backpack with a change of clothes, a notepad, and a burner phone. As far as anyone here knew, he was Jay Lawson, 29, new to the city and looking for steady work. He'd coordinated his hiring with a trusted HR contact who owed him a favor and knew to keep quiet. The general manager at this location had been told a new trainee was being sent over from another branch to help cover shortages. No questions asked. The back entrance was propped open with a paint bucket, the hallway dimly lit and smelling faintly of bleach and fried food. He stepped inside quietly, past a stack of broken-down cardboard boxes, and found a woman in her early 30s pacing near the staff lockers. "You lost?" she asked without looking up from her tablet. "Jay, I'm supposed to start training tonight." She finally looked at him. "Right. You're the extra they sent over from East Side," she gestured with her head. "I'm Morgan, general manager. Grab a staff shirt from the bin and put your stuff in locker 9. You're on barback duty. You shadow Kendra." He nodded and moved quickly. The shirts were wrinkled but clean. He changed in a supply closet and stashed his clothes and phone. Once he stepped out again, he was just another name on the schedule. 30 minutes later, the doors opened. Kendra was already at the bar, arranging garnishes and wiping down the counter with practiced rhythm. She barely glanced over when he joined her. "Hope you're fast," she said. "We won't have time to talk. I'll keep up." He grabbed a bar rag and started restocking limes. The first wave of guests came in fast. Within 10 minutes, the music was up, the lights were down, and the bar was packed 3 rows deep with people shouting drink orders. Zayden focused on everything Kendra did and mirrored it. She didn't waste a single step, darting between pouring, collecting glassware, and eyeing the crowd constantly. "Where's the other barback?" he asked between orders. "Supposed to be here an hour ago. No call, no show. Again." She didn't sound angry, just tired. By 11, the bar was chaos. Kendra's hands were shaking slightly when she reached for a metal shaker that slipped and clanged to the floor. Zayden bent to grab it before she could. "You eaten tonight?" he asked. She shook her head. "Didn't have time," he leaned in. "Go grab something, I'll cover." 5 minutes. She looked at him, surprised, then nodded once and disappeared into the back. Zayden kept his head down, restocking bottles and clearing empties. A few customers tried to order directly from him, but he kept deflecting. "Coming right up, bartender will take care of you." He wasn't ready to blow his cover. From his corner, he noticed a group of college-aged kids ordering shots. One of them, a girl in a glittery top, had a wristband but looked barely 18. Her ID had clearly passed the door, but something felt off. He slipped toward the edge of the bar and flagged down the tall bouncer from the night before. "Hey," he said, "that girl in the silver, you check her." The bouncer gave him a blank look. "She had a wristband." "Not my job once she's inside." Zayden kept his voice low. "But you're the one who gives those out." The bouncer leaned in close. "You worried about someone else's job on your first day, man." Zayden stared at him. "I'm worried about a shutdown." The bouncer scoffed and walked away. When Kendra returned, she looked a little steadier, though her eyes were still heavy. "You didn't have to do that," she said. "You needed it." She gave him a nod of appreciation, then turned to a customer waving a credit card. Zayden got back to work. By midnight, a new problem surfaced. A waitress named Leela came storming behind the bar, holding a receipt. "Morgan just voided 2 of my tables," she said to Kendra. "Said I didn't close them out fast enough." "You didn't?" Kendra asked without judgment. "I was running 6 sections. I didn't have time to babysit drunk guys who disappear without paying." Zayden listened without interrupting. Leela was short, quick-footed, and sharp-tongued. Her hair was tied back with a pen stuck through it like a makeshift bun. "She's been docking tips too," Leela added. "If you make one mistake, she pulls you off the floor for the rest of the night." That's not legal, Zayden muttered. Leela turned. You knew, just started. Well, don't screw up. Morgan's trigger happy with write-ups, and don't bother asking for overtime. She'll just cut your next shift. Zayden tucked that away. He needed to talk to Morgan again, but not yet. At 1:30, the crowd was looser, sloppier. A fight broke out near the bathrooms, two guys yelling, one shoving the other into the wall. Zayden looked around, no security in sight. He pushed through the crowd and stepped between them. Back it up. Now, the bigger guy squared up. Who the hell are you? Zayden didn't flinch. Someone who'll call the cops if you don't walk away. That did it. The guy backed off, muttering, and the second one slinked off toward the exit. Seconds later, the shorter bouncer finally appeared, chewing gum and looking annoyed. What happened? He asked. Handled already. You're not supposed to get involved. Then maybe be where you're supposed to be. The bouncer gave him a long look. You got a mouth, new guy. Zayden walked away before he said something worse. At closing, the staff dragged themselves through cleanup. Kendra was on her knees scrubbing under the bar. Leela was stacking chairs with a dead look in her eyes. The music was off, but the ringing in Zayden's ears hadn't stopped. Morgan called everyone into the back. Tips will be distributed digitally by morning. If you didn't clock out on time, don't come crying to me, someone muttered under their breath. What was that? Morgan barked. Silence. Zayden stepped forward. Why are people being pulled off the floor for mistakes? We're short-staffed. Morgan raised an eyebrow. You're not a supervisor, no, just observing, she frowned. You're not observing anything, you're working. And if you don't like how I run things, you can ask to be transferred. Zayden stared at her evenly. Good to know. He turned and walked out. Once alone in the alley behind the building, he pulled out his burner phone. He called his HR contact. I need the files on Morgan, both bouncers and the payroll logs for the last 8 weeks. Everything okay? No, it's worse than I thought. He hung up and looked back at the building. He'd seen enough. Tomorrow he'd return as himself, and a few people wouldn't be keeping their jobs. Zayden stepped through the front entrance of his own nightclub just after 4 in the afternoon, hours before opening. No hoodie, no camera, no borrowed name. This time he wore a tailored navy jacket, open-collared shirt, and a pair of clean boots that hit the concrete floor with purpose. The early staff prepping the bar glanced up, confused. They didn't recognize him, but that would change quickly. Morgan emerged from the back, tapping her tablet. When she saw him, she approached cautiously. Can I help you? Zayden didn't smile. You can start by getting everyone into the break room. Now, who are you? I'm the owner, Zayden Grant. She froze, her mouth parted, but no sound came out. You heard me, he said. Get them, all of them. Within minutes, the staff gathered in the cramped break room. Some stood against the walls, arms crossed. Others sat on plastic chairs, eyeing him like he didn't belong. Kendra leaned against the lockers, still in her black apron. Leela stood near the mini-fridge, and both bouncers had taken seats near the back, chewing gum and looking bored. Zayden stood in front of the whiteboard, arms folded, scanning the room. No one spoke. I've spent the last 2 nights working alongside you, he began. Not as Zayden Grant. As Jay the barback, the photographer, the guy you mostly ignored. Morgan shifted uncomfortably. I've reviewed footage, payroll logs, and performance reports. I've seen how this place is actually being run. Let me be clear, what I found is unacceptable. The taller bouncer rolled his eyes. Zayden caught it. Let's start with the front door. You've been skipping ID checks, haven't you? Look, the bouncer said, if someone looks old enough, we don't waste time. We got lines out the door. Zayden walked toward him. So you're deciding who drinks illegally based on a guess. No one's complaining. I am, Zayden said. Because your guesses could cost this location its license. If that happens, this club shuts down. Permanently, you're fired, effective immediately. The bouncer scoffed and stood. You serious? Completely. The man shoved his chair back and stormed out. No one followed him. Zayden turned to the shorter bouncer next. You've been caught in the back during peak hours. You missed a fight last night that could have ended in someone being hospitalized. You were chewing gum near the fire exit when it happened. I didn't know there was a problem. You didn't think to check the floor for 20 minutes during a rush. The man hesitated, then shook his head. You're suspended. 1 week, no pay. If you come back late or miss a shift again, you're done. He turned to Morgan. She looked pale now, arms crossed tightly across her chest. You've been falsifying payroll adjustments, haven't you? She opened her mouth, but Zayden cut her off. I have screenshots of you docking Leela's tips for lateness, even though she was the only server covering 6 sections. You also voided transactions from 2 VIP tables without notifying shift leads, which is a breach of protocol. I had to keep things moving, she said. We're understaffed. If I wait for everyone to catch up, the place burns down. No, the place burns down because you cut hours, overwork your team, and punish them for trying to keep up. I've been running this location without support, she said. You want to talk about systems? I've been covering 3 roles every night, and that's your justification for docking wages, Zayden asked. For threatening write-ups to keep people quiet, she stayed silent. You're terminated. Your access is revoked immediately. Morgan didn't argue. She grabbed her tablet, walked out, and didn't look back. Zayden exhaled, then faced the staff who remained. I understand some of you have been pushed past your limits. You've been covering shifts that should have been handled by 3 people. That ends today. Leela stepped forward. How do we know it's actually going to change? Because I'll be here, he said. Not just tonight, for the next 2 weeks I'll be on site, every shift. A ripple of surprise passed through the room. Kendra spoke up. What about coverage? We can't run short again. I've already made calls. 2 trained bartenders from another location are being transferred here temporarily. A new security firm has been contracted. They'll send 2 licensed guards starting tonight. And payroll? Every tip, every hour logged will be reviewed and corrected, retroactively. No one spoke. They were listening now. Really listening. Zayden softened his tone. This place was supposed to be different, a place where hard work got noticed, where respect wasn't optional, somewhere people wanted to come to work and to party, somewhere safe. He paused. I lost sight of that. That's on me. A long silence stretched. Then Kendra stepped forward. You saw me struggling 2 nights ago. You told me to eat. No one's done that in months. Zayden nodded once. Leela added, and you stepped in when that guy tried to humiliate me for being late. You didn't even know me. I do now, Zayden said, and I know what this team can be with the right leadership. One of the kitchen runners raised a hand. What about the people still on the schedule who haven't been showing up? They still have shifts. They're being removed, Zayden said. No more covering for people who don't show up or call in. We'll rebuild the team properly. He looked around again. The room felt lighter now. Not cheerful, there was still too much damage, but lighter. Tonight's going to be rough. We're still short until reinforcements arrive. But I'll be behind the bar. You'll see me there. You'll see me checking the floor. And if anyone here needs a break, you tell me directly. No more gatekeeping. A few nods. A few cautious glances between staff. He gestured toward the door. Take 20 minutes. Eat something. We start fresh tonight. As people filed out, Kendra lingered. You're serious about staying on shift? She asked. I've got my bar shoes in the back. She gave a half smile. Then I'll save you the easy orders, Zayden chuckled. You better not. She left to join the others. Zayden stood alone in the break room for a moment, the silence settling around him. The walls still had peeling paint. The fridge buzzed. A single paper towel hung from the dispenser like it had given up. But for the first time in weeks, maybe months, this place had a shot. He pulled out his phone and sent one message to the district manager who had ignored every red flag, effective immediately. You're relieved of oversight for this location. He didn't wait for a reply. He had a shift to work. 3 days after the staff meeting, the club was holding steady but barely. Reinforcements had arrived as promised, but the gaps left by terminated and no-show employees meant everyone still had to hustle. Zayden worked each shift alongside the team, covering the bar, running ice, wiping down high tops, and occasionally stepping into the crowd when tempers flared. His presence created a noticeable shift not just in behavior, but in morale. For the first time, There was someone in the building with both authority and a willingness to sweat through the shift with everyone else. Late Saturday night, the club hit capacity before midnight. The new security team, 2 licensed professionals in matching black polos, maintained an efficient check-in process. They scanned every ID, used UV lights, and kept a calm, professional demeanor. One of them, a middle-aged woman named Tanya, had a background in law enforcement and didn't miss a detail. When a group of college-aged men attempted to distract her with jokes while one slipped by, she cut them off with a firm stare and denied entry. No arguments, no power plays, just control. Zayden noticed Kendra watching the interaction from the bar. "I've never seen a door that quiet on a packed night," she said, pouring soda water into a glass for herself. "They're professionals," Zayden replied. "That's what we needed." She glanced toward the crowd. "Feels safer." "I didn't realize how on edge I've been." "You shouldn't have to realize it," he said. "That's the point." In the VIP section, a different issue was unfolding. Leela, back on the floor with a full slate of tables, was dealing with a group of tech bros who treated the staff as background noise. One of them waved a $100 bill in her face, trying to get her attention while she was taking another customer's order. Zayden saw her jaw tense as she turned. "I'll be with your table in 2 minutes," she said evenly, not breaking stride. The man scoffed. "That's not how service works, honey." Zayden stepped in before Leela could respond. "Actually," he said, "that's exactly how it works." The man blinked. "Who are you?" "Owner." The man laughed like it was a joke, then caught the look in Zayden's eyes. "You're welcome to be here," Zayden said, voice calm but clipped. "But if I see you disrespecting my staff again, your tab closes and you're out." The man leaned back in his seat, suddenly quiet. Zayden turned to Leela. "You good?" "Fine," she said, voice low, but her shoulders relaxed slightly. "Thanks. Let me know if it happens again." He returned to the floor, but not before nodding to Tanya near the entrance. She gave a small thumbs up. She'd been watching too. In the kitchen, things were running smoother. One of the cooks, Malik, had stepped up without being asked, cross-training 2 of the newer hires and reorganizing the prep station for faster turnaround. Zayden caught him on a break, leaning against the freezer with a towel around his neck. "Heard you cut down ticket times by 1/3, Zayden said. Malik shrugged. "Just cleaned up a system that didn't work. Someone spilled sauce into the fry bins last week because the containers were overstacked. I moved him." "Smart move," Zayden said. "You looking for more hours or responsibility?" Malik gave a cautious nod. "If you're asking, yeah. Let's talk after close. I've got an idea." Back on the floor, the pressure hadn't let up. The music pulsed, the lights flickered in sync with the beat, and the crowd stayed dense. Zayden rotated through the bar stations again, checking in with the new hires. One of them, a soft-spoken guy named Ali, was fast but had a habit of freezing when overwhelmed. Zayden watched as he fumbled a credit card and dropped it behind the register. The customer rolled her eyes and tapped her nails on the counter impatiently. Zayden stepped in. "Take it slow," he said quietly. "Handle one thing at a time. You're not behind." Ali nodded, took a breath, and found the card. The customer finally got her drink and walked off without a word. Kendra passed by a moment later and whispered, "You're good at that." "People don't freeze because they're lazy," Zayden replied. "They freeze because no one ever gave them room to learn." As the night wore on, the atmosphere shifted. There was still noise, still pressure, still sweat, but there was also rhythm. Staff moved in sync. Orders flowed, no one shouted. Even when a glass shattered near the dance floor, the response was immediate. Tanya cleared the area. A barback swept the shards, and a server rerouted foot traffic without needing to be told. At last call, Zayden stepped into the break room and found Malik waiting, towel now draped over his shoulder. "You said you had an idea," Malik said. "I want to bring in a shift lead position for the kitchen," Zayden said. "Someone who keeps the system tight, trains new hires, and works with the floor manager to stay ahead of rushes." Malik leaned forward. "You offering?" "I am. It comes with a raise, a fixed schedule, and input on future hires." Malik nodded slowly. I'm in. Good. We'll start next week. As they shook hands, Leela entered, wiping her hands on her apron. Club's clear, she said. No incidents, no complaints. One guy puked on the curb, but the bouncers handled it. They even got him a water. Zayden smiled. That's a first. Feels like a real place again, she said. He looked at her. It should have always been that. She didn't respond, just gave a small nod and left to change. Zayden took a moment alone in the break room. The air still smelled faintly of citrus cleaner and sweat, but the tension that once hung in this space had lifted. The schedule on the wall had more names. Now new hires were being onboarded next week. The tip pool had stabilized. Complaints had dropped off almost entirely. No fights, no write-ups. No ignored emergencies. He knew it wasn't perfect. There were still long nights ahead, and not every shift would run this clean. But the foundation was there now, and it was solid. Before heading out, he wrote something on the whiteboard in thick black marker. Respect is policy. Not a suggestion. Then he turned off the light and walked out.